All right. So that day was hands down the worst day of my life. Everything changed for me, and I felt like I lost everything. That day was just so different than any other day that had I've lived in my life. Um, I felt like it was a sign that I was gonna change in the future. Like it was kind of I felt like it was like a view of what my life was gonna be like in the future, or how my future self was gonna be. Because I see myself now how I was that day, and I feel like there was just a lot of weird things going. It just felt like a weird day. Um, I was making food, and I mean, my impatience kinda. I mean, that's kind of what made my accident happen, and it wasn't a car accident. Um, I was in my backyard while I was waiting for the food to be ready, and I was jumping on the trampoline. And people always ask me what happened, and I tell them like I had a trampoline accident, and they ask me if I fell out of the trampoline, but I said no, I fell in the trampoline. What happened was I did a double front flip, and I don't know what was different this time. Maybe I didn't jump high enough or I didn't spin fast enough, but it was just different, and that's when it happened. I landed like
On his head, like if this is a
dir-
trampoline, it would be like this.
directly on my head, and as soon as it happened, I knew something was wrong because I couldn't move. So I instantly knew something was wrong. My body was tingling. It felt as if you're like when your arm falls asleep, but it was my whole body that was asleep. And I was able to move my arms, but I had no control of them. They were kind of flailing around like noodles. Like that's what I felt like. I couldn't feel my arms. And while I was waiting, I told my brother to go get my parents because I knew something was wrong right away. And as I was waiting, I couldn't breathe. It was the worst thing. Like I felt like I was out of breath, and I was like suffocating. So it was pretty bad in that moment. But I had to wait for the ambulance to get there, and that sucked because I was trying to get up. I was telling mom to get me up because I couldn't breathe. So that might have messed with my neck a little bit. I don't know because I was really trying to get up.
A little bit more than it should have.
Yeah, because if it was already messed up, I might have like messed it up more. I mean, my mom didn't get me up because she kind of knew like, okay, don't move, like stay there.
But being on a trampoline, it's kind of hard because it's like if someone else gets on the trampoline, it's like you know
Yeah,
what I mean.
but I'm saying that she didn't try
Yeah. I
because
get you.
I wanted her to sit me up because I
But she
couldn't
was like,
breathe.
no, I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah.
So the ambulance got there, and I think they weren't trying to scare me because they knew it was a serious situation. They might have seen something like that before. And I wasn't asking questions really, but I was positive because I was like, all right, like, I was unaware of what happened. And I was just like, I'll be good, like, whatever. I was making jokes on my way into the ambulance, like, bring me some tri tip to the hospital. And yeah, that was like a pretty silent trip to the ER. Um, so once I showed up to the hospital, they instantly like took me in for X-rays, and they took an X-ray of my neck because that's what was affected. That's where I told them I landed. And when the X-rays got back, they saw that my C4 vertebrae was fractured.
So, just to get a little bit of a better idea on what he meant when he said C4, if you look on the list on the right, I circled C4, And that's what he meant when he kind of said that there was levels to your spinal cord. So you could just pause the video and look at that, and then we'll explain in another video more so the details of it. But yeah, just to get a little bit of a better idea of what he meant.
And they did an MRI, I think, or like a CAT scan, one of the two, not really sure, and an X-ray. The X-ray told them that it was like fractured, and then the MRI, I think it was an MRI, that showed that my spinal cord was, because mine didn't. There's different levels to spinal cord injuries, like different severities, and we'll probably explain like in another video. But what happened with mine was that like my vertebrae was pushing against my spinal cord, and spinal cords are very delicate, so that like even a little bit of movement could like mess you up. And they said, I'm not sure if they told my parents that I could be paralyzed, but they probably knew. Um, and I knew something was going on at that point because I still couldn't move, and that's just like, it's concerning if you can't move for over 30 minutes and feel nothing. So I was starting to get worried. Like I knew something was wrong. And after they did all the tests, I had to get emergency surgery. So they took me in. That was my first time, well, me remembering getting surgery. Like I'd never broken a bone before, and that was like my first time. So they put me under the anesthesia, and I was passed out. And the next thing I knew, I woke up with a breathing tube in my mouth, and I couldn't talk. And I was like, "What the hell is happening? Like, why can't I talk?" And it was because I didn't know. I've never had a surgery before, so what they did was they fused. I have some metal in my neck, and they fused my um, vertebrae together and kind of stabilized it. So when I woke up, I was like in a neck brace, the breathing tube, and the breathing tube was to keep me breathing because they said that I wasn't breathing on my own while I was like under anesthesia, and like the whole time I was asleep. I didn't wake up until the next day, I think, around, I don't even know what time, because like it's been a while, so I don't really remember everything. But I woke up the next day, and they said that I might have had to get what's it called, a trach, and it's like a machine that breathes for you. But they wanted to see if I was able to breathe on my own, because I think the machine like reacts to your lungs working. And when I woke up, I was breathing on my own, but it sucked when they took it out. I could my breathing was very light. I like my lungs were very weak, so, and I couldn't eat good. So all right, so you want to say your side of the story? Because I mean we're both together now, so, and you kind of experienced that day too.
So I was with a friend when it happened. I had no idea. I was just kind of like going on with my day. And I noticed that he didn't text me for a couple hours. He stopped texting me around like 7:15-ish because I still have the messages. And it was just kind of weird. I was basically what was going through my mind was that like, oh, like this guy doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Like, he's probably leaving me undelivered. Like maybe I should, like maybe this is a hint to like leave him alone. Maybe he doesn't like me anymore, whatever. And then eventually that night, I ended up finding out, and I was in shock. I didn't really know what to say because the word like paralyzed was brought up, and I know like what that means, but I don't think it really like settled in because I don't know anybody that's paralyzed. Or well, I mean, now I do, but you know. And so yeah, that happened, and I was upset, but I think I was upset just because I was overthinking really that night. And then whatever, and then the next morning I told my mom because my mom like knew who you were, I told my mom, and she's like, maybe you should go to the hospital to see him. And that made me nervous because I didn't want to, like I said in the last video, I didn't really want to insert myself into something that I didn't know if I was welcomed or not. And I'm not saying that I wasn't going to be like welcomed by you, but you know what I mean. Like, it's a serious situation, and I didn't know if I was important enough, as bad as that sounds, but I didn't know if I was important enough to kind of bring myself into that. But I ended up going to the hospital, and then it was kind of scary, I'll be honest, to see him. He didn't have the breathing tube in at that time.
Yeah, but I was hooked up to a lot of machines.
Yeah, a lot of machines. He had his neck brace on, and I was kind of speechless. I didn't know what to say. I came with a friend, and I didn't really know what to say. And then we just kind of started talking it up, or trying to at least. He had a very faint voice, just because you could...
Of the breathing tube.
Yeah, kind of like in his throat. So he had a very faint voice. You're kind of just asking, like, what happened? What's gonna happen now? Stuff like that. And yeah, I think that once I got there and just like seeing all the machines that you would see in movies of like something like serious that happened in a movie, it's a lot.
They were there.
Yeah.
The machines.
Yeah, like it's a lot to really kind of like look at that and say like, wow. You know what I mean?
Even when I see pictures of it, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That really happened. Like, I was in the hospital with all the machines hooked up to me.
Yeah, maybe we can like
in the
put
ICU.
a picture of that.
Yeah. Probably we'll put one.
Yeah.
Shit was crazy because I look back at it and I'm like, wow, that I went through that and I'm here
Kind of, yeah.
living. So, yeah, and I said that we were gonna make a video about like what I'm able to do, what I feel, whatever, but I felt I should have made that video or this video first because I want to explain like what happened before I gave more information.
Before you start getting into like
before I talk about like what I feel and stuff. So that's that. Alright, one more thing before the video is over. While I was in the hospital, they also told me that there was a very low chance that I would be able to walk again. So I just wanted to clear that up.
So we also just wanted to say like thank you for subscribing. We got a lot of people that subscribed to our channel
After our last video.
Yeah, after our last video, which is pretty cool because if you watched like our first video, we were like, oh, or not first, but like a couple first, we're like, oh, shout out to our 3 subscribers. And I mean, however much we have now, obviously that's not like a huge number, but it's still pretty, it's kind of cool to have that many people watching.
Thank you for subscribing. Stay tuned. We're gonna put that next video soon. So see y'all for the next one.